What's up, sports fans? This is the Lucas Ross Sports Channel. It is time to give you my updated college football playoff predictions as we head into week number 9 of the 2024 college football season. I have made quite a few changes here to my playoff predictions compared to last week in week number 8. We are now just about a couple more weeks away until we see the first official playoff rankings, and I did talk about this, of course, in the top 25 video. But we are now heading into the last weekend here in the month of October, and once we get into the month of November, the playoff season usually begins right around that time. But it's not like the postseason, it's just still the regular season, but the playoff rankings do come out, and that's where the games really matter for the playoff committee. So let's go ahead and get into my updated playoff predictions. I'm going to make some few changes here compared to last week, so we'll look at the bracket here and show you my top 4 conference champions, and then we'll show you my group of 5 champions. So here are my top 4 Power 4 conference champions here for the number 1 to number 4 seed. So I got Georgia back at the top here at the number 1 seed. I know Oregon kind of deserves to be here at number 1, but Georgia, they've kind of impressed me a little bit last weekend and with the win over Texas. I feel like Georgia is probably going to be that number 1 seed unless Georgia probably slips up somewhere, and then I'll put Oregon here at number 1. But as of right now, I think Georgia's kind of got a better resume than Oregon, even though Oregon is undefeated. Oregon has kind of got a little bit of a top 25 wins over Boise State, and then they also got the win over Ohio State. So maybe Georgia and Oregon's resumes are a little bit, slightly similar, but I just think that Georgia's going to get that number 1 seed because they probably play Texas in a rematch in the SEC championship, and I think Oregon's probably going to lose the Big Ten championship either way. But yeah, I got Georgia here back at the top at number 1. Last week I had Texas here because they were at number 1 for me, but now Georgia beats them, so I got to put the Bulldogs here back at number 1. This was my preseason prediction to put Georgia at number 1, and then Oregon at number 2. They're undefeated at 7-0. They are definitely the top team in the Big Ten right now. I don't think Oregon probably loses a game at the rest of the season. Their schedule is not that horrible. They got Wisconsin on the road. Maybe that's a game they can probably slip up in, but really they don't really have any tough games on the schedule in my opinion. So the Ducks here at number 2, Miami at number 3. They've been at number 3 for me, ever since week 1. I didn't have them in the preseason though at number 3 to be honest, because I feel like Florida State was going to be a little bit better than Miami, but that's not the case. Miami has been a very talented team. They're the most talented team in the ACC, and they definitely still clearly deserve to be here at number 3. So I got the Hurricanes here at number 3, and then Kansas State. I am still picking Kansas State to win the Big 12 championship. I mean, the Big 12 is really hard to predict right now. You got Kansas State, you got some other teams in there in that conversation. You got Iowa State and BYU, who are the 2 undefeated teams in the Big 12. I mean, it could be BYU or Iowa State in the Big 12 championship, or it could be BYU versus Kansas State or Iowa State versus Kansas State. I mean, I feel like the Cyclones and the Cougars are the teams to beat in the Big 12, so I think, BYU and Iowa State are going to slip up somewhere. And don't forget, Kansas State actually plays Iowa State at the end of the season. So if, the Wildcats win that game, I think, Kansas State, gets to the Big 12 championship and they win a rematch against BYU. I think that's how I think it's going to go down. But either way, the Wildcats here at number 4, they've kind of been my pick ever since Utah and Oklahoma State kind of fell throughout the midpoint of the season. So I got the Wildcats at number 4. And then my group of 5 champion is Boise State. This was my preseason pick as well. I think Boise State, the way their schedule sets up, they got UNLV coming up. If they can get past that test against UNLV, I think Boise State will clearly be the top team in the Mountain West. They got one of the best running backs in the country. This offense is just really good. And the defense, I think, is going to get better for the the Broncos, I should say. So I got Boise State at number 12. All right, so let's get to the at-large teams now from 5 through 11. I'll begin with my number 5 seed, the top at-large team in the runner-up for the SEC championship. That's the Texas Longhorns. I am still picking Texas to go to the SEC championship and be that runner-up against Georgia. I feel like, in a rematch, I feel like I would take Georgia as of right now to win it. I mean, Georgia obviously in Texas has been my preseason pick ever since, the preseason even started. So yeah, I've had like Georgia and Texas in the SEC championship. I am going back to that preseason pick, and I'm picking Texas here as my number 5 seed, as my top at-large, team in here at number 5. Let's now go on to number 6. That is going to be the Ohio State Buckeyes. So Ohio State gets in here at number 6. I think they'll, as of right now, be the runner-ups in the Big Ten championship. It's kind of hard to be a team, like 2 times in a row, but Oregon, and sometimes we've seen that in college football. It's kind of hard to beat a team like 2 times in a row, or maybe like, in a revenge game or something like that as well. But, I think when it comes around to the playoff, I feel like Ohio State will probably get revenge on Oregon, but based off of the regular season, this is how the playoff committee would look at these teams, and they would put Ohio State here at number 6 in a rematch with Oregon, and they probably take Oregon right now, but when it comes back, to the regular season, as soon as the regular season is over, and once conference championship weekend rolls around, we are definitely going to, change things up. So Oregon at number 2, I got them winning the Big Ten championship if these games were to happen tomorrow, and then Ohio State here as the second at-large team. And I got them at number 6. Let's now move on to number 7. That's going to be Tennessee. Tennessee beat Alabama, of course, this past weekend. And I did say the winner of that game between Tennessee and Alabama was going to be my number 7 seed, and that's what Tennessee did. They won 24-17. And I think Tennessee's got a pretty good chance to get in there as a 10-2 team. I could definitely probably see them losing to Georgia. I don't really think they have any other games on there where they can slip up in. Maybe they slip up against, maybe Vanderbilt at the end of the year. That would probably be a disappointing loss there for Tennessee, because that would probably put them out of the playoff and be a 9-3 team. But yeah, Tennessee gets in here just because they beat Alabama, and I did put them here at number 7 because they beat Alabama, and I did say the winner of this game would get the number 7 seed. So I got the Vols here at number 7. Moving on to number 8, that's going to be the Clemson Tigers. I got Clemson as of right now going to the ACC championship. And I got them matching up against Miami. I think I would favor Miami right now in that ACC title game. Clemson, though, kind of struggled against Virginia this past weekend, but they still won very convincingly. The offense is going to get better and better, and then the defense, of course, will get better as well. And they got that loss to Georgia. I feel like with that loss to Georgia for Clemson, I know Clemson doesn't have like a really good resume. That's the reason why I put Tennessee ahead of Clemson this week, because of the resume between these two teams. Clemson, though, if they have that loss to Georgia, they're going to get in regardless, and if they do lose to Miami in the ACC championship, they're going to get in as a 10-2 team. So Clemson here at number 8. We now move on to number 9. That's going to be Penn State. I think Penn State definitely is a lock for the playoff. This team can definitely go 10-2. They can probably slip up somewhere. I do have them losing to Ohio State as of right now, but they have a chance to win that game. Don't get me wrong. If Penn State wins that game, they'll definitely probably be in the Big Ten championship. You never know, so watch out here for the Nittany Lions. They're at number 9 for me on these playoff predictions. Moving on to number 10, that's Notre Dame. Notre Dame has a win over Texas A&M. They also got, a great resume with, like I said, Texas A&M. That's their biggest win on their resume. But, yeah, Notre Dame's kind of been better as of late. I think they'll get in there as an at-large team. But if Notre Dame does make the college football playoff, they're not going to get in there as a single-digit seed. Like, they're not going to be near, like, number 9, number 8, and definitely not even close to the top 4 and top 5. They'll probably get in there as a double-digit seed. I think they're going to be right here at number 10. I had them at number 11 last week, so I got Notre Dame here at number 10. And then we go to my number 11 seed. I had a really tough time with the number 11 seed. It was kind of back and forth on who to pick here. I had to go with, maybe the better resume out of all the teams that I've seen so far. But that team is going to be LSU. LSU's kind of been impressive to me in the last few weeks of the season. They took care of Arkansas this past weekend. Look, I know Texas A&M, they got wins over Missouri and a loss to Notre Dame. They should probably be here at number 11, but I want to see how that game goes between LSU and Texas A&M this weekend. If LSU or Texas A&M wins this game, they'll probably be here at number 11, but if Notre Dame does slip up against Navy, they'll probably both be in here, to be honest. I could probably put Texas A&M at number 10 and then probably put LSU here at number 11, but I don't think you could put Notre Dame out because Notre Dame does have the head-to-head win over Texas A&M. So yeah, it's really tight because because with a 12-team playoff, it's really tough to kind of predict who will be those at-large teams and everything. But I got LSU here at number 11, so that is what my number 11 seed came down to. And I know BYU and Iowa State are both undefeated. BYU's got a better resume than Iowa State does, but it kind of came down to who has performed kind of the best these last few weeks. I know Texas A&M's looked like a dangerous team these last few weeks, but LSU has looked a little bit better. So I got LSU here at number 11. All right, so let's make predictions here if these games were to happen this weekend. We'll start with the first round games. Remember, the first round games are held on campuses, and we'll start with these first round games. So in the first round, I got Penn State beating Clemson. I think that would be a pretty low-scoring type game. You know, Penn State's defense, though, I think is a little bit better than Clemson's. I know Clemson's had like a really good defense in the past, but I do trust Penn State's defense a little bit more. Plus, playing on the road in Death Valley, that'll be a very tough place to play for Penn State, but I got the Nittany Lions winning because of their defense. Texas, I think they beat Boise State here in the first round, but I think it will be pretty close because of the running game for Boise State. I think that would be probably a tough running game to stop here for this Texas defense, but I got Texas beating Boise State here in the first round. And then Tennessee and Notre Dame, boy, what a matchup this would be. I'm going to go with Tennessee, though. I think Tennessee playing at home, that would be the difference there in that game. And then also Tennessee, I do trust their defense a little bit more than Notre Dame does. So yeah, Tennessee here at number 7. They move on to the second round, which is also known as the quarterfinals. And then I got Ohio State beating LSU. That would be a pretty good matchup. I'm gonna go with the Buckeyes here. I think Ohio State would be that really dangerous team in the playoff. Let's say Ohio State probably lost the Big Ten championship, and they really are coming out pretty angry, looking for that revenge game on Oregon, and they will get it here in the semifinals. And because of that, I do have Georgia beating Penn State here in the second round. I think that would also be a low-scoring type game, but I think Georgia's defense is just slightly better, and I do trust Kirby Smart. I think he'll have his team prepared here in one of these big games against Penn State. And then Texas, I got them beating Kansas State here in the second round. I think Texas definitely is the more better team. And then Oregon, I got them beating Tennessee here. I think Oregon slightly has a better defense than Tennessee. I mean, offensively, I kind of do trust Dylan Gabriel a lot more than Nico Amaliava. Dylan Gabriel has a lot of experience, and definitely this is a very talented team as well. And I got Ohio State beating Miami. I think that would also be a pretty good matchup. I know Cam Ward, has been a pretty good quarterback this year, but I think the Buckeyes are just slightly more talented. So I got the Buckeyes here moving on to the semifinals. And this is how it looked in the preseason, except I had Ohio State at number 2, and then I had Oregon at number 6. And this is what the rematches looked like for me. I got Georgia and Texas meeting for the third time since the SEC championship, and then Oregon and Ohio State meeting for the third time as well since the Big Ten championship. I'm going back to my preseason pick here. I'm going to say that Georgia beats Texas in the third matchup, and then same thing, Ohio State beats Oregon in the third matchup, and then we get Ohio State versus Georgia here in the national championship. I'm going back to my preseason pick. I'm going to go back to Georgia here for my preseason pick just based off of what they did at Texas. And I'm telling you, this Georgia team, the way they played on defense, against Texas this past weekend, if they continue to get better on that defensive side of the football, this might be a very dangerous team to play against the rest of the way. But their offense has got to click in. That offense, Carson Beck's going to have to get better at, taking care of the football. I mean, they still got a pretty tough schedule coming up. They got Ole Miss on the road in Tennessee. If they slip up against Ole Miss, I feel like Georgia might miss out on the SEC championship. But either way, they'll still make the playoff as a 10-2 team. So I got Georgia winning it all here, my updated playoff predictions. So these are my updated college football playoff predictions as we head into week number 9 of the 2024 college football season, and also the last weekend here in the month of October. Let me guys know what you think about my playoff predictions. Give me your playoff predictions down in the comments below. Thanks for watching this video, and stay tuned for more sports content videos on my Lucas Ross Sports YouTube channel.